California. I want to talk to you for a minute about the difference between secured debt and unsecured debt in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Why do you care? Well, it's important for you to know the difference between secured debt and unsecured debt, because in a Chapter 7, all your unsecured debt, unless there's some fraud involved, just gets discharged and goes away. Well, what about the secured debt? Does it get discharged also? Maybe and maybe not, depending upon what you want to do with the collateral that has been pledged as security for the debt. So what is unsecured debt and what's secured debt? Well, unsecured debt is debt for which no collateral has been pledged to secure the debt. So your bank credit cards, there's no collateral pledged to secure the bank credit card usually, and if no collateral has been pledged to secure the bank credit card, it's just unsecured debt, and that is why usually all your bank credit card debt just gets discharged in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. But debt for which collateral has been pledged, like the mortgage on your house, where your house has been pledged as collateral for repayment of the mortgage loan, that is secured debt. And secured debt is treated differently in a Chapter 7 from unsecured debt. Basically, and it depends on what type of collateral it is, that determines what options you have available. But let's start with your house or with real estate. In a Chapter 7, if you want to walk away from your house, it's lost so much value that you owe more on it than it's worth, and you've decided you just want to give up, give the house back, and start fresh somewhere else. You can walk away from it in a Chapter 7, and the nice thing about doing that in a Chapter 7 is if the lender forecloses on the house or you give it back to them voluntarily and they don't recover enough money from the sale of the house and the foreclosure to pay the balance of what you owe them, you're discharged from the rest of the balance, and they cannot sue you for the unpaid balance, as they sometimes can outside of bankruptcy. So bankruptcy is a way to walk away from your house and be discharged from the debt. But what if, like most people, one of your greatest goals is to be able to hang on to your house? Well, in a Chapter 7, you can elect to keep the house, but only if you can bring the back payments current if you're behind in the payments, and you elect to reaffirm the entire amount of the unpaid debt owed on the mortgage, and you can keep making those mortgage payments. Now, for a lot of people, making the mortgage payments becomes something that they can handle once they're relieved from all of their other debt. But sometimes with these variable rate mortgages that people got into, even after they are able to get out from under all their other debt, they still can't make the mortgage payments. So in a Chapter 7, if you want to keep your house, you have to reaffirm the debt and keep making the payments. A car loan, where you pledge your car as collateral for the loan, is also a secured debt. And there again, if you want to keep the car, no, well, I missed one thing, and I should go back and say, with regard to your house, what happens in a Chapter 7, where you have to reaffirm the entire amount of the debt and keep making the payments? That's a little different in a Chapter 13. And so if you're not going to be able, it doesn't look to you like you're going to be able to keep your house in a Chapter 7, check out a Chapter 13. There may be some relief for you in a 13. We'll talk about that in another session. Now let's go on to car loans. Car loans are secured debt too. If you want to keep your car, you must reaffirm the debt and keep making the payments on the car. Nice thing about bankruptcy though is if you're upside down in a car and you just want to walk away from the car and be discharged from the unpaid balance, you can do that in a bankruptcy, and in a Chapter 7, and the car loan company cannot sue you for the unpaid balance on the car. Very often people buy a $25,000 car, they put, say $3,000 down on it, they make a number of payments on it, now they owe $20,000 on the car and they get into financial trouble. If you give the car back, or if they repossess the car, either way, they will sell the car at an auction, and usually no one shows up to bid at the auction but car wholesalers, and they'll sell that car that you owe $20,000 on, they'll sell it for $5,000 or $6,000. And then it is perfectly legal, the way the screwed up laws are right now, for them to turn around and sue you for the unpaid balance on the loan. They recovered $6,000, you owed them $20,000, they're going to sue you for the $14,000 that's still owed, even if you voluntarily gave them back the car. Unless you give it back to them in a bankruptcy and then you're discharged from that unpaid balance. There is a third, so usually with collateral, you've either got to choose to reaffirm the debt and keep making the payments if you want to keep the collateral on the secured debt, or you've got to give the collateral back and then you can be discharged from the debt. But when the collateral that's been pledged is household goods, there's sometimes a third option that's available. It's called redemption. And redemption, the way it works is, suppose you bought a refrigerator from a big department store, and you charged it. It was on a department store credit card, and it was a $900 refrigerator. Well, one of the first things that you need to take a look at is, although all your bank credit cards, your MasterCard, your Visa, those kinds of things are unsecured debt and just get discharged in bankruptcy, your department store credit cards have fine print in them that say, oh, by the way, whatever you buy on our store credit card, you're pledging as collateral, and until you get the debt repaid, that's our collateral, and if you don't pay us, we can repossess it. So department stores show up at your bankruptcy and they say, well, I know you're not going to pay us now for the refrigerator that you bought on the credit card, and you still owe us $900. What do you intend to do with the refrigerator? If you're not going to pay the debt, you got to give us back the refrigerator, and you have no refrigerator. If you want to keep it, ordinarily you would have to reaffirm the entire amount of the $900 debt and keep making payments on that. But a while back they looked at this and they said, you know, that's not really fair, because if you took the refrigerator back and you sold it in a yard sale, you'd be lucky to get $100 for it. So how about you let me keep the refrigerator and I'll redeem it. I'll give you what it's worth today, which is $100, and you let me go from the rest of the $900 I owe you. That's called a redemption, and you have to negotiate that with the creditor. It's usually a department store credit card type. So these are kind of the complicated things that you have to figure out when you're looking at money that you owe that is secured by a pledge of collateral. Your house, your mortgage, your car loans, and department store credit cards. You need a lawyer, I think, to help you figure out these things. And if you have questions and you're in Northern California, I'm available to help you. This is Bob Litchfield saying good luck. Bye.